Urban legends that will haunt you. The dead boyfriend. A girl and her boyfriend were making out in his car in the middle of the woods so that way no one could see them. When they were done, the boy got out to go pee while the girl safely waited in the car. After waiting for 5 minutes, the girl got out of her car to go search for her boyfriend, but then she saw a shadow and returned to the car. Once back in the car, she started to hear a very faint squeak, squeak, squeak. This continued for a few more seconds until she got so scared she had to drive off. She hits the gas as hard as she could, but the car doesn't go anywhere because there's a rope tied from the bumper to a tree. She slams on the gas again, but then hears a loud scream. She gets out of the car and realizes that her boyfriend is hanging from the tree. And the squeaky noises were his shoes slightly scraping the roof of the car.
So it all started when I moved into his neighborhood in 6th grade and we met at the park in between our houses. We were in the same friend group in middle school and I thought he was really cute, but he was dating one of my best friends. Fast forward to sophomore year of high school and he asked me to homecoming. A few months later, he came to one of my dance performances and asked me to be his girlfriend after the show. We dated all throughout high school. We were voted cutest couple, went on lots of cheesy dates, and won prom king and queen our senior year. I ended up going to college in California and he went in Washington, so we decided to break up. After over a year and a half apart, we got back together in the middle of our sophomore year. We were inseparable during our summers at home and would visit each other at school too. After college, we both moved back home to the Seattle area and we've been together ever since. Met when we were 12, started dating when we were 15, and now we're 25. I can't wait to see what's next.
The Pilliga Scrub is a dark and mysterious forest in New South Wales, home to many disappearances from people to vehicles, from pets to cattle. Even the locals who live near Pilliga Scrub know something's off. They don't like leaving their house at night if they can avoid it, for fear of being swallowed up by the forest's mysterious power. But perhaps the strangest story to be associated with the Pilliga Scrub is that of the Pilliga Princess. The story goes there was an old lady who used to carry a trolley full of all her worldly possessions up and down the stretch of road in the Pilliga Scrub. Somehow immune to the forest's power, Claire Wibson was given the moniker the Pilliga Princess by locals and frequent truckers of the area. One night in 1993, however, she is hit and killed by a truck. The driver claims she was standing in the middle of the road and he didn't have time to swerve before she was charging at the car, a manic grin on her face. Since then, truckers and locals alike have claimed to see her walking that stretch of road, an impossible smile on her face.
This story's called My Friends in the Basement. She was only 3 when it first happened. Standing in the basement of her parents' family home, she started to talk to someone, but there was no one there. At first, her parents just brushed it off like she was talking to an imaginary friend. But as time passed and she could speak better, she spent a lot of time in the basement. She described the people that she was talking to in the basement in full detail. She called them her 2 friends. It carried on for more years, but her parents never really told family and friends about it. After all, no one really wanted to highlight the fact that their daughter spent most of her time down in the basement talking to her imaginary friends. It wasn't until another year later when her grandma was sitting in the kitchen, the girl launched at her and grabbed her pendant. She said, "Don't ever touch that. That's in memory of my sister who died when I was a little girl. We had matching ones." I know, the little girl said, "My friend has the exact same one. She says she misses you all the time." Turns out the 2 people the girl had been describing was her great-grandmother and her deceased daughter. They'd passed away more than 35 years ago and chosen to stay in the basement.
Scary stalker stories. This one's gonna make you afraid to go to bed. A woman named Chelsea Clark was watching movies with her boyfriend when the next day she woke up and received this message. It said, "Really cute couple." His profile picture was a picture of the Joker. She hurried up and screenshot it, but then literally later that day the account was deleted. Police soon investigated but found no leads and could not trace him. What would you do in this situation? Somebody taking a picture of you and your boyfriend in bed. But turns out there's an update to the story. Turns out it was a hacker from Egypt in a group called Spammers and Hackers who hacked into her boyfriend's webcam while they were watching Netflix. I would start covering my cameras on my laptops, ladies. Like this video if you want more scary true story.
So after Benny was done crushing the hopes and dreams of an innocent actor, watch the last video, we waited in even more lines. Until finally, the time had come. Benny and I were prepared to get scared. The journey was long and our legs were tired, but we were ready for it all to be worth it. We enter the haunted house. There's blood splattered across the walls, as the screeches of those before us can be heard echoing throughout those very same walls. Deafening strikes violently collide with flesh as if someone's being brutalized. And as the smoke crawls across the aged wooden floor, Benny and I slowly approach the first corner. As we saunter towards our inevitable sufferance, I look around and say, Blood on the walls, screaming, the audible sounds of someone being brutalized. This feels just like home. As I say that, Benny explodes in hysteria. Then a costume lady reveals herself from around the corner and says, "I was supposed to scare you, but that was just sad, so you can go." Which resulted in Benny absolutely losing his mind.
This is the scary story of the red light. One night, a girl named Megan was home alone when someone knocked on her door. When she opened the door, it was a man. He said his car broke down and was wondering if he could use the phone. She said yes and let him in. After the call, she invited him to have a drink. They sat down and talked about anything and everything long into the night. She said, "It's getting pretty late, you should probably go." But he completely ignored her and kept talking about his love for movies. He then told her his favorite movies were video nasties and explained it was a film where someone actually gets murdered. No special effects or camera tricks, everything is real. She began to get scared as he continued to go on about these video nasties. As he kept talking, she was paralyzed to see a red glow under the man's jacket. Then she realized it was the red light of a camera recording. She was never seen again.
Here's a quick story time about that time that I texted with a serial killer. Okay, so people all over New Jersey have been finding this phone number on scraps of paper on the ground around the city. So, being intrigued, I had to call for myself. I don't know how to insert audio on TikToks, but I suggest you call and listen to the audio. It was a very creepy man's voice, and he said something like, "Text me about the gray man who eats human flesh." You cannot make this up. So, being the serial killer aficionado trivia master that I am, knew that the Gray Man was a nickname for Albert Fish. So, I casually texted the number Albert Fish and I got a response. Part 2 coming soon.
Scary story about this little girl named Marilyn, part 1. If you are a kid and you don't like scary stories, I would leave now. Back to the story. Marilyn was a 12-year-old little girl, and she found something evil in her backyard. She didn't know what it was. It was a demon. The demon put something into her, and she became a demon. She haunted her mom, her little brother, and the demon said, "Kill your brother in front of your mom." She was like, "Why?" He said, "Do it or I'll take your life." So she picked her brother up and threw him in the middle of the train and killed him like a comic book.
How my new neighbor tried to kill me. When I was younger, me and my mom lived by ourselves. But she was never at home because she had to work 2 to 3 jobs to keep food on the table. So I was always alone. Every day before school, I'd wake up to a note on the fridge that she left the night before. It was always just about chores and stuff until one day. On this certain day, the note said, "Don't talk to our new neighbor." Me being a kid, I walked over to check to see if anybody lived there, and there was no furniture, no nothing, like no one lived there. But something strange happened later that day. After getting off the bus from school, I found a really pretty woman walking around our apartments. She was dressed like a nurse, so I was assuming she was there to help the lady that lived to the other side of my apartment, because she was old. But as the days progressed, I started talking to this lady more and more. Until it seemed everywhere I went, she was there too. Whether it be the store, the school, or anything. Every day I checked the apartment, it was always empty, so I didn't think she was our neighbor. Until one day, everything went wrong. One day I let her in my house and wash some clothes since her washer and dryer weren't working. And this is where things got really disturbing. Like and share for a part 2 and a part 3. It'll be up on my Insta story early, so go follow that too.
Let this be a reminder that there really are monsters out there. In 2007, a woman living right near a prison in California got home late one night and went right to bed. Around midnight, she woke up to footsteps on her first floor, assumed it was her roommate, so she goes downstairs to say hi. She yells out to her roommate, who doesn't say anything, and then in walks this giant man who she doesn't recognize. She runs upstairs, jumps in her closet into the crawl space, and hides. As she's helplessly tucked away in this little crawl space, trying not to make any sound, all she hears is this giant man sprinting around her house, running into walls, flipping furniture, and screaming in frustration because he can't find her. Finally, after several hours, she slowly opens the crawl space back up, crawls out, and gets her phone off the nightstand and calls police. As she's telling the police her story, she describes the person who had broken in, and they stop her and say, "Ma'am, go back in the crawl space and stay there. We'll be there as soon as we can." It turned out a 6'11" convicted murderer had escaped the prison and was still on the loose.
Okay, so the story. This happened when I was around 16. I came home one night at around 1 a.m. My helper, my maid, opened the door for me. She looked at me really weirdly. I did not understand why. I asked her why. She's just like, "Forget." So I went up to my room and tried to sleep. I felt so uneasy the whole night through. I kind of had the feeling of like I'm being watched, and it was creepy. But anyways, at some point I did sleep. I woke up the next day. I directly asked her, why did you look at me so weirdly yesterday night? She's like, Maya, you came home when I opened the door for you? I'm like, yes, I was out all day. There was no one at home. I came home when you saw me. She's like, Maya, there was someone running upstairs in your room and someone calling my name with your voice, with my voice. Creepy.